Why is having this tournament back here in the United States for the first time since 1994 such a massive deal?
I think the best way to understand it is to think about the impact that that tournament in 1994 had. There wasn't an outdoor professional men's soccer league or any soccer league running at that time in the United States. Major League Soccer was founded off the back of that. That 1994 World Cup still stands as the most attended ever, the most fans ever to attend a World Cup. This year is hoping to break that record, something that's made possible by all the NFL stadiums that are being utilized for this tournament. And so again, I think it really, was a, changing moment for soccer in the United States. A sport that's never been quite as popular here as it is everywhere else. But I think if you reflect on how big a moment and the impact that 1994 had, I think the hope is that this summer's tournament can be some sort of similar step forward for a country where soccer is only becoming more popular all the time.
Alex, you mentioned these NFL stadiums that are hosting these events. Let's look at some of these NFL stadiums again. There's Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Of course, we have Seattle is going to be another host of this event. Alex, you expect these stadiums, which hold upwards of 100,000 people, you expect them to be completely sold out for these matches?
That's certainly the hope, but tickets have been a bit of a controversial topic ahead of this tournament. The prices for a lot of games still remain really, really high. It was reported a few weeks ago that the United States opener against Paraguay at SoFi Stadium in Englewood, California, was having trouble selling out because of how high the prices had been set. We are seeing those start to come down, so the hope is that as those prices drop, that demand will increase and these stadiums will fill out with fans. Because again, these games are at their best when the stadiums are full, even if it's partially of neutral fans just there to enjoy the elite level soccer we're going to see on display, the world's game, as you noted. But at the same time, we're going to see really large contingents from plenty of countries. Brazil, notably, always sends a very large contingent. England, Spain, the French, the Netherlands are notable for their orange outfits that they're always sporting wherever they show up. And the tournament's bigger this time around, 48 teams for the first time instead of the usual 36. And so that just means there's more countries, more people coming from around the world to support their teams at this tournament.
Alex, you wrote a series of articles called The World Cup for Dummies. I'm a dummy when it comes to soccer. This is certainly not my forte. If we're talking about baseball, it'd be completely different. But with soccer, I don't know much. How do teams qualify for the World Cup? You're throwing out names like the Netherlands and Spain and England. How do you get a ticket to the dance?
Well, yeah, first of all, thanks for shouting that out. Yeah, that's an ongoing series you can find at alexcampbell.substack.com, trying to provide some coverage for the non-experts out there who are going to be tuning in, to this tournament. Yeah, so qualifying is a continental activity, so you play against teams in your region of the world, and each continent is allocated a certain number of spots. If you're the host, like Canada, the United States, and Mexico, congrats, you don't have to do qualifying. You automatically qualify as the host of the tournament. Europe has always gotten the most spots, which kind of corresponds to the fact that they have the best teams in the world in terms of where the power is concentrated. But this expanded World Cup has really granted opportunity to new teams who really wouldn't have thought they had much of a chance at getting into the tournament before. So that's allowed countries like Curacao out of Central America, out of the Caribbean, to qualify. Uzbekistan in Asia is at their first World Cup. And, again, it's a greater diversity of teams that you get now with this 48-team format. So qualifying took place over the last couple of years, all got sorted out a couple of months ago, and we're all set with our final field of 48 now as the tournament quickly approaches.
All right, and the United States is one of those 48 teams. Of course, I noted earlier this hour we had Scott Renendez on from George Washington University, a professor there, a former MLS executive. We were talking about the United States' best finish. That was back in 1930, the inaugural World Cup held in Uruguay. They reached the semifinals. Obviously, the World Cup has changed significantly since that first tournament back in 1930. Alex, do you think the United States can get back to the semifinals and at least tie their best World Cup finish this year?
That would really be something because since that 1930 tournament where the US were maybe a bit fortunate that a lot of European teams didn't feel like making the sailing trip across the Atlantic Ocean at the time, yeah, the semifinals would probably be viewed as, a bit of a pie in the sky outcome, a bit of a, perfect storm. This is a team that has not advanced past the quarterfinals, excuse me, since that. They've only done that once. That was in 2002 in South Korea and Japan, where they were knocked out by Germany in that tournament. The round of 16 is something they've been able to achieve most times they've qualified for this tournament. The difference this time is the round of 16 is where you got by just getting out of the group in the past. With this expanded 48 team world tournament, getting to the round of 16 is going to require winning a knockout round game because when we go from the groups to the bracket, it'll be 32 teams this time around. So the expectation, the default for this team would be that they will be thought to win in the round of 32. And then once you get to the round of 16, it's a bit of a toss up. If this team makes the quarterfinals, I think that would largely be viewed as a success. The semifinals, though, does kind of feel like the barrier to make a really broad impact on the average sports fan in America to really, turn heads and say, okay, this is something different. This is a higher level than we've ever reached. So it's not likely for them to make the semifinals, but it's not completely unheard of. If you look at the last tournament in 2022 in Qatar, Morocco went on a bit of a Cinderella run and they made it all the way to the semifinals. Croatia is a small nation that's been regulars in that round of the tournament in recent years. So just because you aren't one of the, thought of big teams in the world, one of the top 5 or 6 nations, doesn't mean you can't get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Alex, I also posed this question to Scott. I'll pose it to you too. Do you ever think that we're going to see an American team actually hoist the World Cup in our lifetime? I think a lot of people thought that we'd never have an American Pope, but here we are with Pope Leo. Do you think that we can reach that next milestone and get an American team to actually hoist the World Cup?
I mean, I suppose it's certainly possible. I mean, the United States is in that group of nations that theoretically could win it. And with the size of this country and the ever growing popularity of soccer, there's no reason we can't continue to improve. We're probably never going to quite be on the level of, in terms of consistent excellence of the likes of Brazil or Argentina or France or Spain or England. But this U.S. team, it's about as good as it's ever been in terms of talent. And there's no reason that we can't expect a lot of talent to keep coming through in the future. So, I mean, I'd love to believe that's possible. I'd like to think that you and I have a lot of tournaments left to see over the next many decades to come. So I think we're going to be consistently talking about this team as a quarterfinal contender, certainly within the years to come. And I mean, it's impossible to say whether we'll see the World Cup on the men's side come home to the United States in our lifetimes. If nothing else, though, the women seem like they probably have several more trophies in store while you and I are still around.
Yeah, Alex, let's look at another live shot right now of beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. There's Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Alex, you just told us that if the United States were to reach the semifinals, that would be a massive accomplishment. Of course, Atlanta is one of the sites of those semifinal matches, the other being AT&T Stadium, just outside of Dallas in Arlington, Texas. Alex, you see there, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a gem, a beauty, a peach of a stadium, as they may say in Georgia, has all of the World Cup signage already ready to go. The people of Atlanta are so excited. You just brought up other countries that have made some real pushes, some smaller nations. You brought up Croatia, among others. Give me an under-the-radar team right now that you think could make a run this year. The betting favorites as it stands right now: France, Spain, England. I don't want any of those teams. Give me another nation that's a little bit more under the radar that you could see maybe making it to a place like Atlanta.
Absolutely. A team I really like, the semifinals might be a bit much, but I really like Ecuador, the South American nation who, have really kind of quietly overachieved in recent years. In South American qualifying for this World Cup, they actually finished second, only behind Argentina, the reigning champions. They've got some really high-level players who play in places like the Premier League over in England for clubs like newly crowned champions Arsenal, as well as Chelsea. And that's a team that's, really grown steadily in recent years. And I think could, for people who aren't, tuning into matches every week from leagues around the world, I think they could certainly be a surprise. Morocco would be less of a surprise than they were last time, given how far they've made it. And they're currently ranked in the top 10 in the world in the FIFA World Rankings. I think they could very well make some noise once again at this tournament. Beyond that, it's going to probably be the big guys, and then you would like to think that the hosts, Canada, the United States, Mexico, with a bit of home field advantage, with fans that are going to be on their side in the stadiums, maybe those teams' odds get a little bit better as well, and we could see one of the hosts make a bit of a deep run as well as a feel-good story at this tournament.
Finally, Alex, let's get a prediction from you. Who do you think is going to ultimately hoist the trophy?
It's a boring answer, but teams are the betting favorites for the reason. If I had to pick right now, I think Spain would be my pick. The one concern for them is their star teenager Lamine Yamal out of Barcelona is carrying an injury into this tournament. The other team I like a lot are Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo, along with Lionel Messi from Argentina. Those guys are playing in their 6th World Cup. They are going to become the first players to ever play in 6 tournaments. And I think this Portuguese team, in what's going to be Ronaldo's last tournament, they look really special. I think that's a team that's as good as it's ever been. In my last personal click through of the bracket, I've got them getting to the final against the Spanish in an all-Iberian affair. And once you get to that stage, anything's possible. So if I've got to put money on it, give me Spain. But Portugal, I think, could be a country to win their first World Cup here this summer.
I love it. I love it. A goodbye tour, as you could say, for Cristiano Ronaldo. We're seeing a lot of these athletes saying goodbye. It just got announced that Aaron Rodgers yesterday, this is going to be his last season. So maybe Cristiano Ronaldo coming here to the United States, his last World Cup, maybe he's able to get it done for the Portuguese. And I've got my eyes on Spain as well. That's my second favorite team, of course, behind the United States. Alex, thanks so much for joining us this morning from the beautiful city of Chicago. I really do appreciate you waking up early with us, and we'll be talking here real soon. Thank you for all of your insights.
Absolutely, Adam. Anytime. And yeah, looking forward to only having 3 weeks to go until we're all locked in on this tournament all across the United States.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Alex.